Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Bloody Jacob here to bring you my weekly review of The Walking Dead. This is going to be for the Season 5 finale, guys, which was entitled Conquer. And yeah, like I said, it's a Season 5 finale, which means we're not going to be getting any more new episodes until October again. I don't think I can wait like 6 or 7 more months to watch another episode of this show, because it's still one of my favorite shows of all time, like right up there with, Being Human and Dexter and Breaking Bad and stuff like that. In the end, I'd probably put, The Walking Dead over Breaking Bad and Dexter by a bit. And I still might put Being Human ahead of The Walking Dead, but we could talk about that in an entirely different video. But nonetheless, this is still one of my favorite shows of all time, and so it's going to be a little bit difficult for me to go without it once again. We do have that spinoff coming, Fear the Walking Dead, in the summer. I think it's going to be in the late summer, so I'm guessing like around August or something. And I'm not overly excited about that, to be honest. I know we have Cliff Curtis as the male lead, and I'm not overly confident in him being the main character in the show. But again, we'll see how he does, because not a lot of us knew who Andrew Lincoln was before the original series started, and look what that turned into. So it could turn out really well for that. But as far as the original series goes, it's going to be a while. But they capped off the season in a pretty great way, guys, because we got one of the best opening scenes of the entire series, in my opinion. Yeah, because we've been teased with Morgan all season. And, we got a scene with him in the premiere, No Sanctuary. And then we got another scene with him in the mid-season finale, Coda, if you guys remember those. And then we finally got to see him return once again into the show, and an even more extensive role. He actually played a pretty crucial part in this episode. And, let's talk about that opening scene quickly. We see him, he was, likely sleeping in a car for a night. And, he goes and he makes soup, with some of the flavor packets and stuff like that. But then he is held at gunpoint by a guy who has a W scratched or carved into his forehead. And we all kind of know what that means at this point. We heard about the group called the Wolves around in the show before. We've seen little hints here and there. We've seen the W's carved on the walkers' foreheads, the bodies that have been dismembered and cut off and stuff like that. Well, we just met our first 2 members right here. And like I said, the first guy, he was pretty creepy looking. I'll give him that. The way he talked was pretty well done as well. And he holds Morgan at gunpoint. And he basically says, yeah, we're going to take everything from you. We're going to steal everything. And Morgan even says, can you just leave me with just enough to get through a day or two? Of course, the guy says no. And then he says, oh, we're taking you too. But you probably won't be alive. That's pretty much what he said. And then he actually kind of explains why they're called the Wolves. Why Morgan asks them why they have that W carved into their forehead. And, he kind of explained it how the Indians used to be in the area, and, then the wolves were hunted and stuff like that, and now they're back. So I guess that's their whole philosophy behind it, but, really they just need to find a way to survive, so they took that and sort of went a little insane with it, so that's kind of their story. And now, as far as we know, are these the only 2 members of the Wolves? We don't know at this point, because we never heard for sure either way if they never said if they were the only 2 out there or what. But there are quite a lot of cut up bodies that we've run into this season, so there could very well be more members of this group. And of course, the most exciting part of the scene came when the other member of the Wolves tried to attack and stab Morgan from behind, but thankfully Morgan manages to avoid it. And he has this staff of some kind. I don't know what to call it exactly, but he has this really long staff type of weapon that he made, or that he has somehow. Again, I don't know exactly what it is, but he uses it, and he just goes all Jedi on these guys, like Jedi Master Mace Windu or something like that. I don't know. But again, well, when I say Jedi, you probably think that means it was over the top. It kind of was to a certain degree, but I really don't think it really was that over the top, to be honest, either, because I just think it's more skill in a fight than we've seen from any other character on the show. The only thing we've gotten close to this is, Michonne with her katana, and even she's a little less fancy with that than Morgan is with his staff. So it was really cool to see this different fighting style in the show. We've not really seen anything like it before. And, he just takes these guys down as they come at him, quite a few times. And he ends up knocking both of them out after he, tells them, he politely asks them to stop. He says please and all that. But, of course, they still keep on trying to attack him. So, like I said, he knocks them out. And then he puts them in a car, same car he was sleeping in, actually. And, then he honks the horn a couple times because, it might draw in any nearby walkers, potentially. Maybe they'd find him, and then they'd devour the guys or whatever. I think that was the idea behind it. But it doesn't seem like Morgan's too eager to kill anyone at this point either, so I don't know. But, we do see these guys later, of course, so either way they must have woken up and escaped. And we see later, Daryl and Aaron were watching this guy in like a red, raincoat. And, then eventually he was captured by the same two Wolves members, and he basically got his throat slit. So, yeah, that was that. So, because Morgan sort of let those guys live in a certain way, that's what happened. I just hope these guys don't bite our group in the ass too much in Season 6, but we'll find out. But nonetheless, a great opening scene, and it definitely got me excited to see Morgan again, as if I wasn't already, just by seeing him make soup, which was actually interesting enough, but they threw in this great fight scene here that we haven't really seen anything like before on the show, and I thought it was really well done. And it's great to have Lenny James on the show in any episode he's in, whether it's in the pilot of Days Gone By, whether it's in Season 3, Clear, or whether it's in this one, or any of his little cameo appearances. People just sense like a certain amount of importance and legitimacy and care for this character, and Lenny James just portrays it so well. And it seems like, I'll get to more of this in a second, because Daryl and Aaron were out on another scout run, scout/supply run. And, I told you they did see the guy in the raincoat, but they lost him, and the guy was eventually killed by the wolves, which they didn't see, of course. But they end up getting trapped inside a car. And, see, I don't get it. That's the one thing I don't get about this. We see Carl and Enid. They, ran inside that small, hollowed-out tree, to hide from the walkers. But again, what if those walkers had seen them, then they would have been screwed because they would have been stuck in that really tight, small space. And Daryl and Aaron right here, they're running from a horde of walkers, that pop out from one of the trucks they're going to open to look for supplies, since they lost the raincoat guy. But of course, there's a booby trap set by the wolves, with again the W's carved into the forehead. And to escape these walkers, they run into a car and shut themselves in. Is that a smart idea? Am I missing something here? Or is it just that you shouldn't lock yourself in any enclosed space when there's an entire horde of zombies following you? I don't know. I'm not sure what their bright idea was here, but Daryl's Superman, so I guess they figured they could probably get out of it. That's the only explanation I can really think of at this point. But despite that minor little gripe with it, we did also get some good bonding moments between Aaron and Daryl here. And so that was really good to see. And their friendship is becoming pretty interesting. I don't think it's going to go any romantic way or anything like that. I don't think Aaron's really the type, to fool around on Eric or whatever. But I don't think they're going that route at all. I think they're just trying to build up a different connection of friendship here, and I like it a lot actually. Daryl, I'm not as crazy about him as other fans are, but he's probably within my top 5 favorite characters at this point at least. And Aaron I find to be pretty likable as well. So yeah, I'm glad they're sort of making them get to know each other a little bit more and stuff like that. And luckily they're rescued by Morgan, which was also a great scene. We see Aaron looking out the window, then we just see something just stab through the walker's skull. And of course it's Morgan with his staff again. And, they were about to bail out and try to escape together after Daryl offered to draw all the walkers away. But, like I said, Morgan showed up in time, and the three of them fought off all the walkers together. And some really cool action here as well. And then the three of them escape the rest of them together, and they close the gate. So, yeah. That's it for this one, guys. I'll catch you guys next time. And, peace. I'm kidding. I think I did that before, too. Let me know if that's just, really unfunny and if I should just get back to the point of the video. Sorry. But, yeah. Morgan and Daryl have a very interesting interaction here. Because we see that not only does Morgan rescue them, but, Daryl also offers... Not Daryl, Aaron sort of, gives Morgan his, spur of the moment, come to Alexandria, come to our community pitch. So sort of like a half-baked presentation he gave to Rick's group when he first met them. But nonetheless, he invites Morgan to come back with them to their community they have. They tell all the true promises of what it is and stuff like that. But Morgan basically says, he's on his own path. He has to keep going on where he wants to go. And, he hands Daryl a map, and Daryl sees that's the same map that they had back at the church, because you guys remember back in the first half of the season when they were at the church after the whole Terminus thing was over, Abraham apologized to Rick, before they fought. I mean, he apologized to Rick after they almost fought each other. He wrote, "Sorry I was an asshole, the new world's gonna need Rick Grimes." And so when Daryl reads that on the map Morgan gave him, I think Daryl sort of makes the connection that maybe this guy knows Rick somehow, or maybe, how has this guy been following us, or does he, have some kind of connection to Rick that he recognizes? But I think Daryl sort of filled in the dots here, and they brought him back with them. Maybe Daryl probably said something to Morgan about Rick being there. I don't know. Because Morgan was still pretty surprised to see Rick by the end of it, but that could have just been because of what Rick was doing when he was just showing up. But, we can get more into that later. I apologize for my stuttering in any of my videos, by the way. So yeah, all of that was very good. Anything with Morgan and the Conquer episode was easily the highlight of the night. It was the highlight of the night for me. So yeah, that was all really good. I'm just going to go over my write-up here that I put on Spoil the Dead. Let's see. Oh yeah, I'm also really glad that whole thing disproved that theory that Morgan was already dead that was going around this past week. Basically, people were saying, that some of these dismembered body parts that Daryl and Aaron had come across actually belonged to Morgan, because they had similar colored clothing, sunglasses, was obviously an African man of some kind, and then he had sunglasses too, and the wedding ring. But yeah, I'm glad that theory is disproved, because it would have been really, really frustrating if they just brought Morgan back only to be killed off right away. That would have just been really upsetting, and just really, just, excuse the voice crack, just frustrating, because, they wasted all that time for nothing, pretty much. And it would have been a huge waste of a great, well built up character, and basically just a waste in general of Lenny James's acting talents. So I'm glad that didn't happen, for sure. And I'm glad Morgan was able to own the wolves when he met them. So yeah, that was all very good. I'm going to try to follow some of the notes I make about it. My write-up I always put on spoilthedead.com. And the other part of the episode is sort of devoted to what's going to go on with Rick and stuff like that. And as far as that goes, when Rick woke up, he sort of explained himself to the group, the members who were looking in on him and stuff like that. And, they all seemed to understand his reasoning, but yeah, they're a little bit cautious with the way he was acting and stuff like that. And the true highlight of that for me was the one-on-one Rick and Michonne got later on, a little bit later on. Like I said last week, it's not that Michonne can't be trusted, it's just that she did something more so to help Rick and to take the situation out than to betray him. Some people are going a little bit far with that, I think, Because, they're calling Michonne disloyal, they're calling her a bunch of other completely ridiculous words. But no, I think Michonne is still very much trustworthy at this point. I think she's still a very reliable character to Rick and the rest of the group. And she explains it as she should have. She wouldn't backstab Rick, but basically she doesn't want Rick to force the situation. But if the situation happens, then she'll still have his back no matter what. And which I think makes sense. So she doesn't want the situation to actually come into play because of them, but if it does happen, it happens, and then she'll rise up to help Rick and the rest of the group if needed. But she just doesn't want the situation to happen because of them. And so that's why she took out Rick last week by knocking him out, was because, to sort of diffuse that situation. Because something bad was going to happen there. If the way Rick was going off, sure, everything Rick was saying right there was absolutely right and try. But, like Andrea sort of said to Shane back in season 2, you have the right idea, but your presentation needs work, pretty much, is what she said to Shane. Like, Shane, was ahead of his time. He was like a realist. He was a guy who knew the rules of the zombie apocalypse before anyone else really picked up on it. But, of course, his presentation was, in ways selfish and fumed on, hot-headedness and stuff like that. And, it was kind of like Rick here. He had the right idea. He was saying things that are correct, but, he just needed to come at it from a different angle, if you know what I mean by that. So, I thought that scene with Rick and Michonne totally made sense, and they sort of still have a mutual respect for each other, which I really like a lot. And despite this whole Jesse thing going on, I still hope Rick and Michonne are the long-term plan for a romantic relationship. I still think it makes a lot of sense, and I think that could be the end game. Who knows? However, I do really like Alexandra Breckenridge's portrayal of Jessie. People say she's far more likable than she is in the comics, from what I hear. And she's just a really likable actress, and they make Jessie pretty likable on the show, too. And we see Rick check in on Jessie, and so that was nice. But, of course, Pete was observing all that. And, so that fumes him up, which we'll see the accumulation of later. And then we'll get back to Rick and the rest a little bit later. But the rest of it, we did see Abraham. He brought in flowers for Tara, who's still healing. And Rosie was at Tara's bedside, and Eugene was sitting there as well, watching over her as much as he can. I still really like Eugene's development this season. I think it's been really good, like such a contrast from where he was at the middle to now. So he's really let his balls grow, and he's just become like a far more trustworthy person and reliable, considering he saved Tara's life. And first Eugene's asleep when Abraham comes in, but Rosita sees this and she just wants him to sort of talk and sort of bury the hatchet. So she stomps on the ground on purpose to wake Eugene up, and so she kind of forces them to talk to each other, which I thought was kind of funny. And Eugene basically owns up to his mistakes. He says basically says what he did was wrong, and he's deeply sorry about everything that he put him through because of it. And Abraham accepts his apology, and he basically apologizes for almost killing him when he knocked him out, around the self-help time. So, it was good to see that scene between them two. And Tara also wakes up. Thank you. Tara is also one of my personal favorite survivors. She'd probably be within the top 5 as well, in all honesty. I've had a lot of characters that people won't really expect. But, I could do a whole video talking about my favorite characters still alive in the show right now. I could do a whole video talking about that. I may very well do so at some point this summer. So, so that was all good. And then we also got huge scenes between Glenn and Nicholas. And Nicholas sort of as you know, he's the one who took Rick's gun that he had stashed. And so Nicholas was sort of luring Glenn outside. I seen someone asking why was Nicholas wandering around outside in the first place. I sort of like to think that maybe Nicholas knew Glenn would be following him, so he tried to lure him outside to kill him. Because as soon as Glenn gets in the open, Nicholas shoots him in the shoulder. but Glenn actually manages to get away and temporarily escape for a little bit, and of course it goes into a big fist fight between the two, with Glenn getting most of the advantage. But Glenn was still hit in the shoulder. He was still shot in the shoulder. So Nicholas, is a really dirty fighter, and he sort of presses into the wound and stuff like that. And so that puts Glenn through a lot of pain. And these 3 or 4 walkers show up, and it looks like they just pile on top of Glenn. And it looked like he probably should have been torn apart there, but a little while later, as Nicholas is trying to get back to the safe zone, Glenn shows back up and tackles him. And that was one other questionable part about the episode. How did Glenn escape? Because we literally seen 2 or 3 walkers about to pile on top of him laying on the ground. I don't know, maybe he slipped out somehow, which isn't really that realistic, but I don't know. Let's just not question it. Glenn's alive, he's not bitten. And Glenn basically beats Nicholas down quite a bit more. And you can tell he just wants to kill this guy after what he caused to happen to Noah, and for trying to leave them all at that warehouse, Aiden and different things like that. But Glenn still has his conscience. He still has his conscience about him, that he doesn't want to kill anyone. He doesn't really want to hurt anyone. And he ends up sparing Nicholas. And a lot of people are upset about that. They just want this guy dead for what he caused to happen, which I get, and I'm sure Glenn gets too. But I also think it was fitting for his character that he spared Nicholas's life. And it does make me a little bit hopeful that he still has a sliver of hope for people like that. And maybe it's a sliver of humanity, maybe just some humanity left in him. So in a way, it was a good and bad that he didn't kill Nicholas. We'll see what Nicholas ends up doing next season, how they sort of interact with each other after that. So that was all pretty intense. Let's see. Oh yeah, Sasha. Sasha isn't a character I care about that much, to be honest. I don't really like the actress too much. I kind of find her portrayal sort of dull, and the character is just not very interesting to me. But as far as her psychological issues since getting to the safe zone, sort of trying to readjust to a normal life, I get it. It makes sense, because it's sort of like I said in another review, I believe, that when a soldier comes back from a war and he's seen all this death and battles and things like that, he's gonna have to take some time to adjust, and he's gonna have some trouble with that. He's gonna have a lot of issues, and some people don't come back from that. And I think all the characters that arrived are going through that to some degree, as we've seen earlier in the second half. But so I get Sasha's issues here, why she's out killing walkers, taking out her anger and sadness and stuff like that. And she lays in the pile of walkers where they bury them in the hole and stuff like that. And so she doesn't really care if she lives or dies at this point. She wants to die. And she sort of makes a confession to Father Gabriel later that she wants to do that. But except Gabriel's really screwed up in the head anyway. And, he took a walk himself earlier in the episode. And, he almost let himself get eaten, basically, but ended up killing the walker anyway. And when Sasha makes this confession to him, he just sort of he just screws with her mind. He tells her, this is your fault, you couldn't do this and that, and your brother is the same way, and he should be dead like he is, pretty much. And so Sasha and him basically struggled. Sasha had a gun, she knocked him to the ground, and then she was about to shoot and kill Gabriel, but Maggie shows up and stops it from happening, of course. But, I'm not the biggest fan of Sasha, but she does have her, but I do get her psychological turmoil here. So it's really not all bad with her this episode. And Maggie had a decent role in this episode as well. She tried to talk Deanna down from, potentially exiling Rick from the community. And, she basically, and we'll get into this because they had a meeting, to talk about what to do about Rick Grimes. And everyone, I really liked how they did this because we had quite a few group members actually stand up for Rick here. And Maggie herself, said, my father, knew him, and he trusted him, and Rick has a big heart, and stuff like that. I like the, Herschel reference, of course. And, Then Michonne also sort of like explains, that he is really a good person, he's trustworthy and stuff like that. And Carol talks about all the times Rick saved her and took care of her when he didn't have to, which she might have been exaggerating to a degree, but nonetheless, it's still pretty true what they said about Rick. But of course, Rick wasn't around to hear all that, unfortunately. But he sees the gate has actually been left open, and that was actually left open by Father Gabriel, who, when he came back in from his walk, left it open on purpose to probably draw walkers inside there to, kill all these, evil souls and stuff like that. And so Rick basically had to kill a few walkers, and then he brings this body of the walker back to the group, at their little campfire. And, he basically just drops a body of a walker in front of him and basically says, yeah, this is what we're facing, this is what could happen. And, it's like he said to Carl earlier in the season, it just takes 1 second. 1 second. So, yeah, he basically points out that could happen really at any time. And as Rick's explaining it again, he's taking a bit more of a civil, calculated approach to explaining it to the members of Alexandria. And even Jesse stands up for Rick here as well. And let's see. So I'll make sure I don't miss anything I really want to mention. Oh yeah, and Carol also threatened Pete earlier. She threatened to kill him if he did anything else. And I find Carol that threatening, kind of, because she is a female Rambo, like in No Sanctuary and stuff. What if Pete really came at her and, if he gave Rick a decent fight, which he probably shouldn't have been able to, but the fact that he did, if he made a move and Carol didn't get like a first stab that was really crucial, would she really be able to kill Pete, let alone survive? I don't know, probably not realistically, but so it's still cool seeing Carol threaten Pete like that and stuff. And let's see, what else? Okay, yeah. And as Rick's explaining this, we actually see Deanna, and her wheels are sort of turning, so it kind of seems like she might be able to finally understand and make sense of what Rick's trying to say here. Because, like you say, he's coming at it from a different angle, and as he even admitted earlier, he probably shouldn't have acted the way he did, even if what he believes is true. He should have came at it in a different way. That's what he's doing here, even though he's still pretty intense, covered in blood with walker bodies and stuff like that. But, it seems like Dan is finally starting to understand him, but that's when Pete shows up to crash the party, of course. And he's basically angry, and he took Michonne's katana, likely where it was hanging. And Reg, Deanna's husband, who also tried to give Maggie some comfort about the whole situation earlier, he goes up and tries to calm Pete down, but he gets his throat just cut and slashed open by Pete with a sword, and so yeah, he's bleeding out, he's dying, and of course, Pete gets taken down pretty quickly. And as is watching her husband, slowly dying, she basically just tells Rick, do it. And Rick shoots Pete in the head and, finally executes him and puts him down. And just as he does that, we hear a voice say, Rick? And then Rick looks up, and Morgan's staying there with Aaron and Daryl. And that's where the episode ends. But we did get an after-credit scene with Michonne taking her katana off the wall. And so it looks like she's going to be using that again, putting herself in that place, that mindset that she talked about earlier in the season. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. But the big thing to talk about, Morgan's finally at the safe zone. He finally sees Rick again. And not the greatest of ways either. Not under the greatest of circumstances. I'm sure if Rick explained to Morgan what was going on, he'd probably understand it for the most part, I think. But it was still nonetheless like a bad time to reunite. Glad Pete was finally killed. He deserved everything. Jesse definitely didn't protest over that either. And, excuse me, guys. And as far as Morgan being back, there's going to be a lot of great interactions next season. I hope his character is around for a very long time. I hope he becomes a series regular, and I think he kind of has to now that he's back with the main group in a way that he's never been before. So I can't wait to see what they do with Lenny James's character. And when Morgan's around and Morgan's a regular, he's second to only Rick for me out of the current survivors. So I can't count like Shane and Merle and stuff like that. But out of the current survivors, for me, it's Rick, Morgan and Michonne, then it goes into, like Daryl and Tara and stuff like that for me. But like I said, I can do a whole video talking about that. And so I can't wait to see how the writers use Morgan in season 6. It should be really good to see him and Rick's interactions. There's gonna be so many well acted scenes in general. So I really look forward to that. And it wasn't like a huge cliffhanger, but kind of. I like where they left it. It makes you just want to watch more and more, and not like want to wait months on end to see more of it. So I think I did well enough with that. And I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. A very good episode. I don't think it was the best season finale we've had. Actually, like season 4's mid-season finale, Too Far Gone, where the governor had his final assault on the prison, he was finally killed, and Herschel's death and stuff like that. I actually think that episode is better than any actual season finale we've had. But as far as actual season finales go, I think it was definitely better than the whole season 4 being trapped in Terminus at the end. I think it was better than that. What's better than season 3's finale, Welcome to the Tombs, with Andrea's death, which pissed me off. And it was probably better than, them just leaving the assault on the prison, like, just ending it before it really started. So it was probably a bit better than the season 3 finale. And we got the accumulation of that, like I said, in that season 4 mid-season, Too Far Gone. And the season 1 finale with the whole EDC thing. CDC thing, of course, sorry about that. That was good too, but, it just didn't have quite as much build-up as the one in season 5 did. But my favorite season finale is still probably season 2, Beside the Dying Fire, with the whole barn burning down, the whole enormous walker horde on the farm and stuff like that. That's still probably my favorite season finale. But this one is probably my second favorite out of actual season finales. Just some really good stuff in this one. I was a bit disappointed that there was no major character death. I feel like there should have been at least like one more. I know we got like Bob and Tyrese and Beth and Noah dying this season, but no like major character really died. Those were all supporting characters to me. So I kind of wish there would have been like one major character death to sort of cap it all off. But there are just some great stuff in this episode all around. That's not that big of a deal at this point. So yeah, very good episode, very good season finale. Although not my favorite, still a great episode nonetheless. And yeah, this has been a very good season. Not my favorite again, but one of the better ones we've had. I think it was better than season 4. And I think it was like right up there with season 2 and season 3. It's hard to compare season 1 to the rest because it was more than half as long. It was more than it was less than half as long, we'll say. Sorry about that. But yeah, season 1 wasn't nearly as long as the other one, so it's hard to compare. But yeah, I think it was right up there with my other two favorites, season 2 and season 3, and definitely better than season 4. So I think it's been a very good season all around, with the second half being quite a bit better than the first half. So yeah, I'll probably do videos a little bit later on at some point talking about my favorite season of the show so far. I might do another video listing my top 10 favorite characters that are still alive. And I may do another video talking about, say, my favorite season or something along those lines. But yeah, great episode in general. And yeah, I really can't wait so many more months just to see another episode of this. I really am eager to see where it goes from here. So yeah, that's my last Walking Dead video for a while, unless I do those more miscellaneous discussion videos at some point, which I may do a couple, like I said a second ago. So yeah, I'll catch you guys for those, and of course with Strength going back this summer and my other videos that may be popping up, we'll have other things to talk about too, as well as those TWD discussions I mentioned. So yeah, I'm almost done with season 3 of the Vampire Diaries as well, so expect a review of that within a week or two, or I'd say. So yeah, there's that, and I'll catch you guys next time. Great episode, great cap off to a very, very good season, and I'll catch you guys next time for whatever I upload. And peace. That's it.